Welcome to tonight's transmission of the Ministry of Assumption. Absolute. I thank you for co-creating this moment here with me. Manifestation from a non-dual perspective and experiential commentary on the principles of self-liberation. I'm your host, Lucian St. James. This was a lyric that stuck out to me since I was a wee one, and we're going to dissect it here briefly tonight. It's from Prince's Controversy, from the album of the same name. That would have been 1980, I believe, right on the dot, 1980, released on the Warner Brothers record album of the same name. As I stated, Controversy. Listen to this song if you have not, because I think that this particular song is a fantastic examination on the forces of meaning that we are fighting against in terms of being individualized expressions of the all that is, of God as divinity incarnate, versus, living that dualistic experience, while the truth of reality being that everything is non-dual. So everything is actually one thing, but we live in an illusion of separation by way of being in a meat suit as a person, as an ego, as a body with thoughts about the world expressed. That is a separated, fragmented version of the all that is, and your creative power to exercise in your world as the God of your reality is by way of the capacity of your awareness to attune your attention to the contents of specific experiences, which most of the time tend to be more negative before they're positive, because we're operating on a preconditioned type of narrative about what we believe the world is supposed to be and how we're supposed to live in it. And if we find ourselves out of alignment with that, which we always will, because you're basing your entire sense of self-worth on external constructs that actually have nothing to do with you. In fact, your reception of those external constructs are actually a product of your awareness. You're never going to see anything but more of yourself. That's I call it the human conundrum that we find ourselves in, living as the all that is, being products of the all that is, yet within the illusion through a body in a material 3D reality that appears to be separate from us. So this particular, controversy, one of the lyrics in it that resonated with me just on a personal level of, am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? Do you get high? Does your daddy cry? So Prince talks about, again, all these these societal allowances and these societal, you get your hand slapped. Like if your daddy cries, there's something wrong with you. That is a personal controversy. But what does it really mean if we examine the context of this particular lyric? Do I believe in God? Do I believe in me? And that's the question that all of us are asking inadvertently. Do I believe in God? Do I believe in me? Because we don't realize we are the gods of our reality. We don't realize that type of question is actually the same thing. But to really take it a step further, we make gods, we make idols out of the problems that we have, out of the politicians that we follow, out of the person that broke up with you and you're still based, or your parents even. What I'm saying is, whatever you've allowed to define your sense of self, you've essentially made a god out of. Or if you get a particular diagnosis and the man in the white lab coat tells you that this is the way this is going to go, and there's a certain amount of consequences to expect with this. If you decide to take those words, to take that meaning that is just out there floating in the world, that fundamentally is neutral, and you apply it and you stamp it to the truth of yourself and the truth of your reality, what you have done is you have made a god out of that circumstance. Now, the word God is so muddied in culture. It comes so preloaded, so it might be hard for us to really even kind of understand the concept of I am an IEG, as I'm always talking about, that I'm an individualized expression of God, or that I've made a God out of this circumstance. No, I've not made a God out of this circumstance. It's just a shitty circumstance. No, if we're talking about God, we're talking about the source, origin point, creation of all things. You are that origin point relative to your experience of reality. So you're not the origin point of somebody else's reality, but you're the origin point of how you experience that someone else in your reality. You are the reception, you are the transmission and the reception point of all of it. You are experiencing, this is one way to think about it, a feedback loop of yourself constantly. You had parents that weren't very supportive growing up, and you internalized that, like, I don't deserve to be supported. Maybe I have some worthiness wounds. Maybe I'm afraid of being rejected. Maybe I'm afraid of being abandoned. Then you're living with a self-understanding that people reject and abandon me. Then that's your feedback loop. So that's what you're transmitting out, that people reject and abandon me. You then draw in people that are in coherence, that are in resonance with your field of space of existence, that reject and abandon you. You get rejected and abandoned, and then you say, see, this is what happens. I'm just this type of person. Like, and all you're seeing is you have to break down. You have to look at, like, what is the origin point of the things that I believe about myself? And as an individualized expression of God, do I believe in God or do I believe in me? Then that question being, do I believe in an external? Now, I'm not interpreting how Prince meant it. I don't, I think he was Jehovah's Witness for a time. I'm really not quite all sure what they believe in terms of, textual, scriptural interpretation and, what their vibe, like, I don't know. I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying how I received it, and that there's a really powerful message there that we can apply to our understanding as individualized expressions of God, that's the same thing. Do I believe in God? Do I believe in me? Do I believe in external cause, or do I believe as in myself as the first cause? Do I believe in myself as Neville Goddard would say, the operant power or the energetic source of origin, as the individualized expression of God in my reality? Do I believe in myself as that? Or do I believe in everything out there telling me what I'm allowed to be? But the main message here being tonight that you're experiencing a feedback loop of the self. I have opened up some private coaching spots if you would like some one-on-one support, exercising and remembering your power to exercise as an individualized expression of God. If you're having difficulty training your attention or staying within the state, which is just a decision that you make now, we can get into my heaven on earth methodology. I will be doing some filming on that more exclusively in the days to come, so stay tuned for that. But if you'd like to connect with me one-on-one for support, check out the email dropped below, along with the podcast dispatches from the Edge of Obvious, which is available free to you, and the Substack community that has the newsletter, the Liberation Chronicle, attached to it as well. So lots of opportunities for you to dive deeper into this content if you so desire. But do I believe in God? Do I believe in me? Do you believe in the God of the diagnosis? Do you believe in the God of the circumstance, in the God of the breakup, in the God of what my parents said, in the God of my boss that never approved of me, in the God of that friend I was chasing, in the God of my past, in the God of a future that is undesirable to me? Do you believe in the external cause of I am at the effect, essentially? I am at the whim. I am at the subjugation, at the submission of the things happening around me, because that's how we're taught. That's how we're trained to think. And we fall in and out of it. You'll be riding high. You'll be fine. You're like, I am source. I am God. I am loved. I am treasured. I am divinely protected. I am divinity incarnate. I deserve the best of everything. And then something slams into you, and you have to rest. Remember that in the state of your I am, whatever you declare, manifestation is instant. That is the timeline that is now activated. Your job is just to stay there, that it is done. You lasso your attention back, and you return to that state with unconditional allowance as to what the 3D is showing you. But most of us, we make gods out of the circumstance. A lot of you have made gods out of your SP. The SP is defining me. The SP is telling me if I'm worthy enough, if I'm loved, why don't I have my SP? Or we make gods out of our bank account. I mean, what I'm saying is, like, we allow these things to be the creative space of origin. If my bank account didn't look the way I wanted to, if the SP doesn't text me back, if I got an undesirable report from work saying I did all these things wrong when I really did try to my best. When I get some, ridiculous phone call from my estranged parent, when, all of these different challenges that can come up interpersonally or circumstantially, when we allow those things, I'm not saying don't experience your emotions. I'm the first one. I'm a Cancer stellium. I live in an ocean of emotion. That's what allows me that's what allowed me to even be receptive to these messages once I first heard them, as a transmitter to you. So I am not at all ever saying don't feel your emotions. I'm saying when you allow a meaning of what that emotional experience is interpreted as, when you decide that because I feel sad, it means that I'm worthless because I'm responding to a situation that fundamentally was neutral, but I'm choosing to apply a meaning that tells me I'm not any good, that I'm broken, or that there's something wrong with me, and that this feeling that I have is evidence as to who I am as a person based on the interpretation that I applied. That's when you're allowing the circumstance to be the God of your reality. Or I think it was Epictetus. I've never heard anybody say it. I know I used to be really into Ryan Holiday and a lot of Stoic stuff. Epictetus, but paraphrase, he said some version of whoever angers you is your master. So, and that was, I heard that very early in my 20s when I was first getting into personal development work, and I was just blown away by that whoever angers you is your master. So you just swap that out. It doesn't have to be about anger, but whatever it is that provokes, I'm not saying don't have emotions, but whatever it is that provokes a response out of you, to the point of now I'm defining myself based on that, based on the perception of that. Now I'm defining myself and saying that I'm no good, things aren't going to work out, why don't I get what I want, life is hard, whatever, fill in the blank, because of this negative experience that appeared to me in the screen of my con. I look at life as a movie that, we're the observers of all of this. I'm now allowed that thing to become my master if I decide that now this thing has the right to define me. You have absolutely, you're going to experience emotions. I wouldn't suggest that you walk around as a flatline robot, or even stoically. I don't believe in a lot of Stoic principles anymore. Not that they're bad or wrong. They just don't align with, me and my, everything right is right, I think, in its own way. But it's not how I vibe anymore, because there's no vibe to it. It is just flatlined. It is just flatlined. But whatever angers you is your master. Well, most of us are living under the master-slave dichotomy as slaves based on what our parents told us about the world, based on what we learned in the school system, based on, there are a number of many structures we were taught we're allowed to believe about ourselves. And even as we get into this work, there's still a lot of oscillation. There's still a lot of signal flickering as to, okay, I get conceptually. That's why it's really more of a remembrance, and it's an experience. Cognitively, okay, I understand that I'm an individualized expression of God, but then what happens when it appears that something undesirable has happened? Am I still God, or do we fall out of our divinity? And as we often do, as I do, we fall out of our divinity, and then we start attaching, that's the source of the state of my reality. That is now the first cause. Now I am subjugated to deal with the effect of this experience that I did not create, and is now doing the creating for me. So do I believe in God? Do I believe in me? Which one is it? And you realize that's actually the same thing. You are the God of your reality. Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, through he who strengthens me. Well, what is that saying? Christ is a representation of your I am awareness, if we look at it from a Gnostic or metaphysical standpoint. So what does that mean? You are like Christ came. Christ is, if you look up what the word Christ means, it's translated to the anointed one. Well, you are the anointed one. You are the chosen one. And the chosen one just realizes that it's them, it's everybody, it's the world. All of the world is made of God, and God makes up all of the world. The pieces are part of the whole, and the whole is in all the pieces. So you realize, Yeshua was talking to you. Yeshua wasn't saying, worship me. Yeshua was saying, I am you, and you are me, and we are all one thing. We are divinity incarnate. So you can do all things through your I am awareness. That's what and we get close to that, like, right? Like, I mean, I went to seminary for a few years, and I was I would never say I was a devout Christian. I mean, I think at a point in time I thought I was for many years, but it's a devout spiritualist. I just wanted to know anything and everything about everything I could get my hands on. And as a devout spiritualist that was practicing, I guess, a version of Christianity at that point in time, you get very close to that, right? It's like, I know I can't do anything, by myself, meaning in my ego, in my meat suit. But it is through the power of Christ. So I'm going to pray to Christ to give me the power. And then, strengthened by the power that I receive, should Christ be so generous to give me the power, then I will be able to proceed through whatever hardship or difficulty. Well, you shortcut all that and realize it was you all along. So there's nowhere to wish or hope, or there's no external, rainfall to hope for and pray that God blesses me so I can get through this hardship. And then you realize I created the hardship with my mind. I did it because I assigned that as a truth to myself. And it is not a truth. It is the appearance of a fragmented version of the all that is. And because I assigned that as something I'm paying attention to and charging with my creative essence as an individual's expression of God, that's why I'm seeing it. And I can remove my attention, and I can decide to stop seeing it and stop living in a reality where such things are the case. Signing off with tonight's transmission of the Ministry of Assumption Absolute. My name is Lucian St. James. I am a divine embodiment coach. I thank you so much for joining me here tonight. Remember to be good to yourselves and others, because everybody should say a version of you anyway. Until next time.